All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. If everyone would just rise for the Pledge of Allegiance for me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Our first order of business this evening, before we get started with our regular town council meeting, is we are holding a public hearing for registered cannabis caregiver licenses. We have 5 applicants that we'll be discussing later on in the meeting and taking action. But first, we have a duty to hold this public hearing. I'm curious if anyone in the room would like to speak on any of the applicants, anything related to the public hearing. Please come up to the podium.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
so for the public hearing, you have to call out each one.
each individual business. Okay,
You have
thank you.
to- And ask them if there's anybody who wants to speak on that one particular business. If not, then close that, go to the next one, please.
Thank you for that. Oh. All right, I'm just working kind of in order based on the documents that we have received. So the first one, I will say is Kaversky Industries, doing business as Hidden Greens. Does anyone in the room have anything they would like to speak on related to that particular cannabis business? Come on.
Tamara Steinhauer, 19 Hill Drive. I don't know if I can ask a question or not, and it would apply to all of them, but do we get to know where they're going to be located?
All of that is public documents. It's in the, we have a
Okay.
ginormous package today and the addresses and everything's in there. And I think, so I can say, Kaversky Industries doing business with Hidden Greens, 438 Lower Main Street. I can cover that as I go through each one. Any takers? For Hidden Greens. And around the phone. Do I have to like formally close each individual public hearing?
No, not,
Okay.
not the,
Just each
just,
topic?
say, and we're closing the discussion on Kaversky.
Yep.
And now open the public discussion on Hidden Green and so forth.
Great, thank you. Okay, so it's 6:02 PM. We will go ahead and close discussion on Kaversky Industries doing business as Hidden Greens. And we will move on to Grow Cannabis located at 297 Main Street. Anyone in the room that would like to speak on that particular? Okay. Also at 6:02 PM, we will close out the public hearing conversation for Grow Cannabis. Next, we have Flora, which is located at 556 Emery's Bridge. Anyone that would like to speak about that one? Okay, 6:03 PM. We'll close out Flora. And next we have High Striker Farm located at 104 Pond Road. Any takers?
I'm Julia Jones at 110 Pond Road. I'm not sure the format that what you want to hear. I have been neighbors with Ryan Reed, the owner, for 7 years. I have put in multiple odor complaints regarding his greenhouse. And I have come to the point where I think that it's no longer his fault, because I understand that he changes his filters and whatnot. It's the town's responsibility, because they gave him permission to have a greenhouse on a 2-acre plot in a residential area. That's not a large enough piece of land where he's not affecting the neighborhood around him. I really think that the whole situation of where greenhouses are located and how they should be conducted, whether allowed on a residential road, and the particular area that they are allowed to have their greenhouse in, acreage wise. Robert Frost said good fences make good neighbors, and I know that if he had a cow farm and his cows were constantly getting over my side, we would have legal ramifications. Chasing an odor, that is a difficult thing, for him to control and for me to put up with. So that's my public comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, for, High Striker Farm? Okay, we will go ahead and close out High Striker Farm at 6:05 PM. And the last one is, either 599 LLC doing business as Sugar Shack, I think is what I've gleaned from the paperwork. If I got that wrong, let me know. That's located at 599 Emery's Bridge Road. Any comments from anyone in the public on that business? Okay. We will go ahead and close topic of conversation for 599 LLC at 6:06 PM. We did receive one email, from one resident that I'll just read into the record, and Ryan, I'll forward this to you so it gets included in the minutes. Not pertaining to any particular one of these businesses, so that's why I'm kind of reading at this point. We received an email from Stephen Bays, who's located at 160 Gunquit Road. Counselors, please find the attached most recent Office of Cannabis Policy listing of registered caregivers living in and or conducting caregiver activities within South Berwick. As the majority of registered caregiver information is no longer protected like it was in the past, I appreciate the town's continued work to ensure compliance with town licensing and performance standards. From my experience, the negative impact on neighbors can be significant. I believe that each of these registered caregivers have attested that they are in compliance with their local municipality rules upon their initial license application, as well as at each annual renewal. It is again requested that you consider updating Chapter 140, Section 9, definitions for cannabis caregiver retail store to align with the state of Maine's definition in MRS Title 22, Chapter 558C, Maine Medical Use of Cannabis Act, Section 2421A definition. And that definition reads, caregiver retail store is defined as caregiver retail store means a store authorized in accordance with this chapter and used by a registered caregiver to sell cannabis paraphernalia, cannabis plants, harvested cannabis, related supplies, or educational materials to qualified patients and other items to the general public at a fixed location. Thank you, Stephen Mays, 160 Oakham Road. That's the only email communication we received pertaining to any of these businesses. I'll just open it up one last time if the council or anyone else would like to speak anything at this public hearing. Okay, we can go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:07 PM. Thank you all for your patience. Public hearing is officially closed out. Our next order of business is the bond fund. And I will just say early on for everyone in the room, we are going to be doing some shuffling around of the agenda. We do have an obligation to take care of the bond fund stuff right now, but once we wrap up the bond fund, we will be shuffling the agenda around to talk about the actual council action to be taken on the cannabis applications. So for the bond fund, I will just give everyone a short refresher on this. Give me 1 minute. So some years ago, the Elizabeth R. Bond Fund was established essentially as a way that the council could use the money put into that fund by Elizabeth Bond to fund various recreational activities in town with a focus on winter related activities. And we have this meeting pretty much this time every year where we had to review the minutes from our last meeting, which was a year ago, which we'll do in a moment, and then where we entertain applicants for those funds. So our first order of business for the bond fund will be I'll just go ahead and make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from the bond fund for March 12th, 2024 as written.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. That takes care of 2024. As far as 2025, for our disbursement option. So how this fund traditionally works is whatever growth the fund experienced over the last calendar year, we have the ability to take that growth and take 70% of that and distribute that out for various recreation related applications. So for the performance for the bond fund over the last year, the overall earnings for that fund was $8,634. So 70% of that is $6,044. So in addition to that, we have an obligation to keep the bond fund at $100,000 or more. And I believe we are sitting at close to around 390,000-ish in this fund at the moment. So just wanted to lay that groundwork. Council, anyone have any questions? Did I miss anything? Okay. We have received 7 total applications. We'll go through each one individually. And those applications are actually for a sum total of I'll round up to $58,000. I think the council, we could opt to, if we wanted to, for one particular year, we could reward more than the 70% of earnings if we wanted to. We do have the power to go ahead and do that, but we can go through each application individually. So the first one, if anyone's keeping up on the our really large support docs, it's on page 185. Our first applicant is from Marshwood Softball League for $1,836.99. Where Marshwood Softball League is seeking an AED to help with safety at games, practices, etc. Piece of safety equipment. Do you want me to just go through and read all of them, or do you guys want to talk about them individually?
So you have to talk about each one individually and make a motion, vote on each one individually.
Yeah, but I think that we kind of need to talk about the whole picture.
Yeah.
Do you want to go through and kind of?
Summarize all of them first and then vote on them after.
Yeah, okay, I will do that quickly. So the first one, AED from Marshwood Softball League, about $1,837. The second application, second application is also from Marshwood Softball Little League, for concession stand repair in the amount of $17,000. That application is on page 190 of our packet. Then we have Marshwood Softball League, asking for $10,000 for a new scoreboard. That's on page 196 of our documents. That wraps up Marshwood Softball League. Then we have an application from the Southbrook Recreation Department to replace the powerhouse fuel tank for about $360. And that's on page 203 of our packet. Next, we have also from Southbrook Recreation Department an ask for $1,500 to upgrade the community center chairs. And as we get through these, I know Nikki, you're here, and Carlo, I might ask you to come up and speak to some of these if possible. But I just want to give a summary. Next, we have Southbrook Recreation Department and Economic Development, asking $4,800 for Adirondack chairs to kind of distribute and place at strategic locations around our downtown area. That's on page 210. And lastly, Southbrook Recreation Department, there is an ask for $22,500 for a new skating rink. Again, all of those applications are some total of $58,000. That's a summary. We can just kind of go through one by one as a council, talk about each one. First, we have the AED for Softball Little League for about $1,837. Anyone have thoughts on this one?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to clarify
Yeah.
for people that are watching or listening that an AED is an automated external defibrillator. It's in case that there is any sort of cardiac arrest or cardiac implications at the sporting event, that it would be available as an added safety measure for not only the youth, but for as well as spectators or umpires or anybody that might be on location at the time.
Thank you for clarifying for us. Anyone else have thoughts on the AED for softball? Is this an item that we would like to fund? Well, I think our first question is the council, the reality is if we stick with our 70% of earnings, we cannot award all of these, period. We can't even really award a couple of them. So if we're going to entertain more than one or two of these applications, we first need to agree that we're willing to actually pull more from that bond fund than we typically do. I personally am comfortable with that. We have $400,000 in the account. We have to keep 100,000 in there. It was intended exactly for these types of things.
Some of them, yes, some of them no.
Yeah, I agree.
So I have no problem with spending more of it for the youth. While Adirondack chairs would be nice downtown, it has absolutely nothing to do with the youth of this community, other than they'll probably do graffiti on them. So, please don't print that. Give them ideas. I'd love to have them, but I don't think that's a use of the bond fund money, in my own personal opinion.
Looking for a little clause. Yeah, the bond fund language specifically says it's conveyed in the will of Elizabeth R. Bond, projects that enhance the recreation of the youth of South Berwick with emphasis on winter recreation are the beneficiaries of the fund. Okay, so John, it sounds like you're comfortable with exceeding the 70% amount, depending on the specific allocation. Okay, is there consensus from the council? We're comfortable kind of exceeding that? Okay, so then, yeah, Tim,
That's gotta be a formal motion, then, not Madam Chair.
a formal motion first, and then we go through each individual item.
Well, at some point, if you're gonna exceed the total amount, you got a motion that the council authorizes to exceed the total amount.
Great.
Whether you do it at the end or the beginning, doesn't matter.
Great. I will do that one right now, to make a motion, make a motion that the council is going to, exceed our
Minimum,
minimum, disbursement from the Elizabeth R. Bond Fund for the 2025 calendar year.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Favor? Bill?
Aye.
John?
aye,
Melissa?
Aye.
Aye. That's 4-0. Okay, we are going to spend more than the $7,000 or $8,000 we actually have in this, for this calendar year. So for the AED, does anyone want to make a motion? I'm,
Yeah, Madam Chair, I move that we allow, or we appropriate the funds from the bond fund to pay for the AED for,
softball,
what is it now, Marshwood Youth Softball? Or
Marshall
Marshwood
softball little league.
Softball Little League.
second,
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of allocating $1,837 to Marshwood softball little league for an AED, say aye. Bill?
aye,
John?
yeah, aye,
Melissa?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Okay. The next application is from Marshall Softball Little League for concession stand repair for $17,000. I have a question on this one. So the Marshall Softball Little League is who is submitting the application. However, this is a structure that is used more than just by softball.
No,
No,
nope, it's on the softball field. It is used by, it's used by 2 softball programs, but it is used primarily by softball.
just softball.
Just
Okay,
softball.
okay.
I have a question for Tim, that Tim might be able to answer. I didn't, or John, you might even know. I imagine the location of this structure is directly behind, like, the dugout of one of the ball fields. Do we know the actual location of this?
So they want to add on to the present concession stand, from what I've been told and gathered looking at this, which is, if you're driving down Agmenicus right on your left,
Mhm.
you'll go by the dugout, concession stand, then there's the equipment shed, and then the other dugout. So they want to add on, they want to about double the size of that by looking at the plan.
Would we foresee, Tim, any, where we take care of the ball fields, any additional strain on our public works department or who we subcontract to mow those fields? Like, when you add structures to a place that gets mowed, sometimes it becomes an inconvenience and adds time to a property to be serviced. So I was just wondering if this is gonna create any problems for the maintenance of those fields.
no, I don't see that.
Let's grass them all.
More string trimming to do though.
What about the structure itself? Who maintains that? Is that the town? No,
The softball. Marshwood,
they like repaint
what is it now? What is it?
Marshwood.
I'm still used to Sprout. It's been that way for
Marshwood
20 years.
Softball Little League.
Yes, they maintain it. They pay for the upkeep, they pay for the electricity, they pay to paint it, everything in it. Just like baseball on the other side, it's all funded by the programs.
So I guess my only other question with this is, it's hard to allot money to an estimate. So they're estimating that the material for the building is gonna be $9,000, the labor for the building is $6,000, and the site work is gonna be $2,000 for a total of $17,000. So what happens if the building in the end only costs $10,000? What happens to that $7,000 that we grant them? Do they give it back or? Like, that's,
It's a fair question. I don't know that I necessarily see that coming to fruition in this economy, but, it is a good question. Do you want to
I'd
know?
have to investigate it, I don't know.
Or if it comes in more, do we have to come back here and ask? for it?
Yeah, it's a flip side as well.
What they wanna build.
They can't ask for more, once
Yeah.
you approve it by motion vote, that's done. As far as I'm not spending the money, I'd have to ask.
Speaking for myself, I know during the spring and summer, how many people and local families are at those fields all the time. This is clearly a recreational enhancement for our youth, our community. We have the money to use for these types of things. I'll go ahead and make a motion to, award Marshall Softball Little League $17,000 for concession stand repair from the bond fund. Can I get a second? I just need someone to say second, we can vote it down and our vote, thank you.
There's a reason I'm not seconding.
We have a motion to second, any discussion?
I'm not sure how I feel about this one. Like, I understand that we have the money, I understand the benefits, but I'm just not sure that it like falls fully in line with like the drive of what the bond fund is supposed to be. And I also understand that, let me go back in the day when, you know, when I was involved in the rec programs or, you know, these youth programs, you did rely on a lot of volunteers to get things like this done. Like you would ask for the money for the materials and then you would have the parents and volunteers would actually build it for you. So my concern is I would love to contribute to this for them, but I don't want to award the whole allotment that they're asking for. So I know we can't offer them more money, but if we could offer them less money, I would feel more comfortable with giving them a portion of what they're looking for than for the whole kit and caboodle.
That's fair. Anyone else have any other thoughts?
No, other than the days of yore are gone.
True.
Being involved, and then this will lead into why I didn't make the second. Being involved in that program for the last 24, 25 years. All that was built by donations. We sold glow bracelets to get the dirt for the infield way back when. You don't have that kind of buy-in anymore from parents. They struggle to get parents to run the snack shack. They struggle to get parents to stay for practices. So this is their way to get that, so the kids can continue to have what they have and to have a great program. We are known statewide for our fields and our program. That's why we have states and districts down here all the time. We have some of the nicest fields this side of high school fields. And we're better than some high school fields in the area. So that's why they want to do it. I have no issue, again, like you said, splitting it down the middle. No issue at all. They can fundraise the rest. I have no issue with that, but as far as back in the day, no one offers that anymore. Unfortunately.
Do you want to add anything, Tim?
No, only that you got a current motion on the floor.
Yeah. Okay, we do have a motion on the table. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, I'll remind us of the motion. The motion is to award $17,000 to the Marshall Softball Little League for concession stand repair. Melissa? All in favor? Yeah, vote, we're gonna vote, sorry.
No.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
I'm abstaining from this one.
So, okay. Then this vote will not pass this evening then. Vote, so Melissa voted no, Bill voted yes, abstain, I'm voting yes, motion fails. 2-1 with one abstention.
Feel free to make another motion for less.
That's fine, I'm just trying to get all the. That's correct, right?
Yes.
Let's say point of order or
Yes, please.
clarification. I said yes or no, because the motion was to award the 17,000. Are you saying, she said no?
No, yes, abstain, yes.
Okay, so it would be awarded to them, correct? No?
No, so when only three are voting, it has to be unanimous.
It'll be unanimous.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
So John's,
Yeah, no, sorry,
John's-
follow procedure.
Council James is absent, creates only three, they have to go by.
I have to, I'm the field manager for the program, and I do not feel right awarding funds being part of the program.
That's fair. Is there an alternative motion? Melissa? Was there an amount?
Sure.
Yeah.
I would make a motion to, allot $10,000, to the Marshwood Softball Little League program for assistance in constructing, their, storage and whatever concession stand.
Second, we have a motion on the table to award the Marshwood Softball Little League $10,000 from the bond fund for concession stand working. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion for awarding $10,000, say yes.
Aye.
Bill? Aye. John?
Abstain.
And I will say yes. Motion passes 3-0 with 1 abstention. Okay. Next, we have the scoreboard for Marshwood Softball Little League. Do we have similar feelings about this?
Well, the difference with this is the full cost is for the actual materials and there's really no labor involved except for a minimal excavation and installation. So, I mean, they did submit estimates for other scoreboards. I do know that scoreboards are very important with keeping people from fighting in the crowds. I'm just kidding. Where it is, it's hard to fundraise for materials. It's a lot easier to ask for volunteers to put things together. So I would be okay with spending the money to purchase the scoreboard for this program.
I'll go ahead and just make a motion to award $10,000 from the bond fund to award $10,000 to Marshwood Softball Little League for a new scoreboard.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion of awarding $10,000 to the Marshwood Softball Little League for a new scoreboard, say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Abstain.
Aye. Motion passed 3-0 1 abstention. Next, we have the Southwark Rec Department, $360 for the Powderhouse fuel tank. I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we award Southwark Recreation Department $360 for a new Powderhouse fuel tank. I think this perfectly fits exactly what the bond fund is trying to accomplish, with it being recreation as well as winter recreation.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion of awarding $360 to Southwark Recreation Department to purchase a new fuel tank, say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Up next, we have a request from the Southwark Recreation Department for community center chairs. I'm just trying to get to the. Does anyone have any questions on this? Nikki is here. I think if there's any other questions that we'd like.
This is gonna wrap me up with the Adirondack chairs too. I'm gonna struggle with this one, but. I'm not seeing it fitting. The role of the bond fund. I know we can make exceptions, but I'm not seeing it fit what the bond fund was. Set up to do.
I hear that, and I also recognize that sometimes we have. This is an ask, and it's something that we can just entertain and discuss, and the reality is we have this money that's otherwise gonna sit there. And if we have a need in town, I'm sort of likely to entertain it. That's at least my thought. Does anyone have any other thoughts before we put a motion on the table? Okay, I will go ahead and make a motion. To award the Southborough Recreation Department $1,500 for community, to upgrade the chairs in the community center. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Anyone?
I do agree with Counselor James, and again, it's a bummer, I see both sides where I know the money is there, I know it's been sitting there for a while. But, in regards to the purpose of the bond fund, I would rather stay, even if the money is there, I would at least try to stay a little bit true to what Elizabeth Vaughn actually, created the fund for, so we don't set a precedent of down the road that just because the money is there, that people can ask for anything. So,
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of the motion to award the Southborough Recreation Department $1,500 to upgrade the chairs at the community center, say aye. Melissa,
no,
Bill,
No.
John,
No,
yes. Motion does not pass. One, what am I? Motion fails. One, sorry. 1 to 3. It's rare we have a fail, Sterling. Okay. Up next, we have the Southborough Recreation Department and Economic Development Adirondack chairs, the amount of $4,800. Discussion, or should I just put the motion on the table?
I've already said my piece earlier.
Okay, I want to make a motion to award the Southborough Recreation Department and Southborough Recreation Department and Economic Development $4,800 to purchase Adirondack chairs for our community.
second, oops, sorry.
That's okay.
Melissa seconded. Any discussion?
I think it falls into the same, we've kind of already discussed that one, so.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Melissa,
No,
Bill,
No.
John,
Nope.
yes. Motion does not pass 1 to 3. Last, application is from the Southborough Recreation Department for a new skating rink. In the amount of $22,500. This one, I think, I will just say, I think my initial reaction to this was, I know we've had a really lucky year this year because we had great conditions for a skating rink. And so my sort of inclination initially, and it has changed because I learned more information. My initial inclination was to say, why would we spend this much money on this very kind of like, maybe we can use it, maybe we can't use it type of thing. But then I spoke with Tim and Tim explained it a little bit further about the upgrades we're actually looking to make here. And, Tim, could you actually explain that to everyone here so everyone's clear?
Sure. So the reality is we started talking about buying a Zamboni. One of the councils had recommended a Zamboni. One of you 5, could be somebody that's not here tonight, I don't know. But anyway, and because of the intense labor that it takes to take out the ice rink, take the, thank you, liner, put the liner together, flood the liner, with an inch of water, get all the holes out, then go back and finish flooding it. We have to use a small snow blower on it because of the liner, so we don't rip and tear the liner. So myself, Jay, Nikki, Jen, assistant town manager, got together and talked about this, and they had actually, the discussion, I walked in on the discussion with Zamboni, they were gonna apply for the bond fund for it, and I said, no, we're not doing it. Don't have any place to store it, and it would tear through the line. We talked about making the ice better because it was so much used when we had that. Best way we came to concluding that was the most efficient was we would put in 2 drains in the basketball court, put in a permanent curb all the way around. And then with that, the 2 drains, all we'd have to do is plug the drains, flood the basketball court once. That gives us 3 inches of solid hard ice for the season. Then we could use the sidewalk machine to clear the ice because it'd be solid enough. We have to paint the inside of the golf court, the basketball court with a white non-reflective paint, the sealant that would seal the court. And then it's much bigger, so that's what this was. If you feel it doesn't qualify, that's fine, but we didn't have it in the budget, and we had such a great response this year from the ice rink being up. The problem we have is that the rink liner is very small, the one we put up. And it does require a lot of maintenance from Public Works and the fire department going over and spraying water. This would be a whole lot easier, because then in late October, early November, we could go plug the drains, flood the thing, and it just freeze. And after that, it's done. So it's whatever you feel. Nikki, did I miss anything?
So a liner, what's a liner cost? $5,000? $5,000? So you get a couple of years? If you're lucky, 2 to 3, depending if someone sticks a skate through it.
That's right. So
We have that going down the road. We're gonna make the basketball court better because you're gonna put a drain in. So if we get rain during basketball season, the court's gonna drain better than it does. It fits both sides of the lawn fund. Because we've kind of morphed the lawn fund from not just winter sports, we built it into summer. This is youth, this is community, it gets used a lot. I think this is the perfect use for it, and again, it's an upgrade for all seasons.
And, you know, I went over, 2 nights to see how House Hill operating. As a manager, I should do that, and I stopped at the ice rink and I got out and it was crowded. There were a lot of people and a lot of little kids. And one of the things I saw, there were 2 families there. And one of them was in Agumenikas, and I don't remember where the other people said. And they had young kids, 4 or 5 years old, and they had chairs, and they were trying to teach them how to skate on chairs. And the only thing that could have made it any better is if it had been bigger, so that the little kids could have been on one side, so to speak, and the big kids that were skating and the adults. But it was and the people there were very appreciative. They were like, we know we don't get the cold, but this is great, this is what South Berwick's about. And it helped. I had kind of a grumpy outlook on this when I first came here, because we had to buy a new liner the year I got here. We didn't have that money to buy 1,000. So the liner's already 3-4 years old. So I kind of and going there this year kind of really changed my perspective on it. It really did. And that's why I told the crew, you know, I told Nikki, I said, try the bond fund first, and if not, we'll try the budget next year and see what we can do. But I think this was the ideal, because it opened up more space, and it really is. There were a lot of kids there.
Yeah, and it's gonna make it better in the summer months or the rain season.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what the program is designed for.
And we won't have to, just so I understand, we won't have to buy the liner any longer if we do this, yeah. Okay. All right, I'll go ahead and make a motion to award the South River Recreation Department $22,500 to upgrade the skating rink / basketball court.
Second.
Thank you. A motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Melissa?
We have a little further discussion.
Oh, yes, sorry, discussion. Yeah, go for it.
I would like to accept that badge of shame for recommending the Zamboni to be purchased.
That's next year.
And
No, it's not.
That's next year.
please let me justify, Counselor James, there were some concerns from residents and our citizens about our fire department resurfacing and using water and using, you know, their
Tank truck.
to service the ice rink. So I figured if the community, the rec center had their own ability to service the ice rink, then it might make a little more of the citizens happy that had some concerns.
Until we spend $150,000 for a Zamboni.
No,
Now, I would love to drive a Zamboni, always wanted to. No.
where's Nikki? Back me up on this. You did some estimates, right?
We did. Yeah.
Let's go with you getting an ice rink.
But neither here nor there. This is what the bond fund is designed for, and my only concern is our winters in New England are very irrational. One winter, we can have sub-zero degree weather and have a wonderful 8 weeks of ice skating time, and then other winters, we can't even freeze the ice rink because the winter is so mild. But with that being said, if we don't do this, and then we do get several winters where we can have the ice rink, and then we have to continuously purchase the liners and materials to keep the upkeep of the structure, then it makes sense to do it once and do it right. And it always have the opportunity to be there if it can be there.
And if we have a warm winter, we can pull the plugs and play basketball. Without having to move the liner and
Yeah.
have public works go down, right? It's as easy as pulling the plugs, water drains, we're playing basketball again. So it's set up to ease.
And so the other part of that, the liner's never perfect, right? So it always ends up with little leaks, especially when you get the ice changing. The ice shift and makes little holes and it drains. So that's why the fire department has to keep going over and refilling it and then resurfacing. This way here, fire department will make one big dump in November, we plug the drains, we'll fill it up. With the exception of once in a while going over and I think we worked out to get a garden hose so that,
We actually have hoses from Snowy King.
so we're gonna
we
use the
actually have-
hoses, we're gonna turn on the water. So that the fire department doesn't have to use the tank truck, but only once a year to go over and dump it, fill it. And then we're good. And then after that, we got hoses we figured out that we can use to resurface it and just take care of it that way, so. And it'll be a lot more efficient because of the highway, the sidewalk machine, you won't have to bring a snow blower, the sidewalk machine, when you're doing his rounds, you just blow and blow it on.
That's perfect.
It'll be strong enough with 3 inches of solid ice to support that.
Can I ask a question or no? Sure. My only question is, if you're gonna flood it and leave it and let it freeze, who's going to watch it? Why it's standing water? And I only ask that because it's gonna be deep enough for a little kid to drown in it.
It's only.
It will be deeper than it is now. And right now, we just walk away and it freezes, over the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right now, it's sitting there.
I'm thinking life safety, that's all I'm thinking right now. Yeah.
Fair.
So I'll assign one of my staff to that.
It ain't gonna be me.
Could be the code officer, a safety issue, I could make it a code one, so I'll take care of
Right
it.
now, we have 3 inches of water sitting there. It'll be
Nothing has
fuzzy.
And I'm not sure what the
Well,
square
right
footage
now,
is.
it's at risk.
The,
Binder could be.
increased size of one would be significant. I mean, the surface area would be huge. I've been there several times over the course of the year. It's always crowded, especially on the weekends, and the little kids just like fly. And then I've watched like crash through the hay bales and like go tumbling. They're doing it on purpose, but like just a little bit more space would definitely make a huge difference and allow more people to get on it and enjoy it. Kind of stretch their legs a little bit. I'm all for it.
Nikki, I do have a question, and I'm ashamed that I don't know this. I know that, we take, there is a fee to use the ski slope. Do we charge to use the ice rink, or is that free?
That is great.
Okay.
Just like a sledding hill, correct?
Yep, just like the.
All right, we have a motion on the table to award the South River Recreation Department $20,500 to upgrade the skating rink. All those in favor, say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. That wraps up our bond fund topic for the 2025 calendar year. We will revisit this conversation again next year. Yes.
Formal adjournment.
Yeah, I was getting it. Oh, sorry. Yeah. That wraps up our bond fund. We're at 6:43 and we'll, now start our regular council meeting. We have 4 councilors present. Jeff got hung up with work and is out of town and was unable to join us this evening. I would love to get a motion from somebody.
Madam Chair, I would like to move unfinished business number 2 to the top of the roll so we can get that moved along with people we have here.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of moving unfinished business number 2, cannabis license applications up in our agenda above approval of the following minutes, say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you, Nikki.
Yes, thank you, Nikki. All right, so we have 5 applicants. And we will, I think it makes sense to go through them one at a time. Jenny, thank you for being here tonight. Jenny is our code enforcement officer. Jenny, if I could maybe ask you to come up or you can stay there, or you can sit in Jen's seat, whatever you prefer.
The applicant.
So I'm just gonna keep us organized. We're gonna start with Tversky Industries, which is for the council and anyone following along online, starts on page 6 of our. I'm gonna try to pull up all the pages out so I can.
Fantastic.
Okay, so starting on page 6, Tversky Industries. I think what would make sense for this? We've had the public hearing. I would like to kind of first ask Jenny, if you could just kind of give us an overview on each applicant and kind of your recommendations. And then we can ask you questions, ask you questions.
This applicant is from 438 Main Street here in South Berwick. They received planning board approval to have a retail, medical marijuana, I'm sorry, it's cannabis now, medical cannabis, retail store. There are recommendations from each department head, including, the local health officer and deputy, which are, Tim and I. I would advise the board members just to make yourselves familiar with the department head letters. There are questions in some of them. There is, a situation in this one where daycare came up, but nowhere in our ordinance or the state ordinance does that come into play here. So I recommend that you guys approve this license.
Thank you, Jenny. I have just a basic question on this. This was one that I had a hard time just kind of following. There's so many names in this application. There's, are you Eric?
I am Eric.
Okay,
yes.
Eric, thank you for joining us. There's Eric, there's John and Marlene Suchi, who are part of that, and then also Calvin Akers.
So I can answer.
Yes, please
So,
do.
John and Marlene own the building.
Speaking of my-
John and Marlene own the building.
Okay, thank you.
Calvin rents the building and he subleases it to me. That's why there's, yeah, they have
Okay.
nothing to do with, he owns a building. It's Hidden Greens is my business.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then I know that Calvin had a business in the same location for a period of time, correct? So how did we meet all the right requirements in that kind of change of ownership process?
Yes.
Okay,
As far as I know, because he had a business and then he's,
So if you look through the supporting documents of this application, I'm just gonna take this over for you if that's
Yeah.
okay. You're gonna see that most of the supporting documents and the business model, the abutters, all the things that were in the original application are actually exactly the same.
yeah,
They run their businesses similar. It's still product coming in the store, pre-packaged, ready for sale.
thank you. Does anyone have any other questions about this one or thoughts?
No, other than that, just Calvin.
he's a good guy. I
He's
really
very
like him.
good
He's
guy.
really good, yeah.
I have one question or concern that I'm not even sure that, as you said, Eric, that you kind of just took over the operations that were already ongoing of what was there, correct?
Not necessarily. So he is leasing that space
Oh, okay,
and I'm just subleasing the space from him.
okay.
Yeah.
So, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I tried to go through the ordinance 3 times, and it was like, I was cross-eyed by the end of it. It states in the application that your hours of operation would be 8 to 10, 7 days a week, is that correct?
That is what I'm looking for approval.
Okay,
But however, I mean, when we open, it's probably gonna be like 8 to 8.
okay,
Yeah.
so that's what I wanted to talk to the council about, is that in the ordinance, there is no given hours of operation, and that retail, they're supposed to abide by retail stores and local abutting businesses, they're supposed to kind of coincide with the other businesses that are surrounding, so. I do worry about the 8 to 10 because all the other businesses around you would shut down by 8, 9, maybe at the latest, and so. I wouldn't want, if the neighborhood is already accustomed to that area kind of quieting down at a certain time, then maybe and like you said, you may only be open till 8 o'clock, but the documentation in our packet says 8 to 10, so I didn't know if we could.
Was that the same operating hours when it was Wisely Cannabis or the previous location? Do you happen to know?
I don't know.
It would be in the findings of fact, for the
Okay.
supporting documents.
Okay, thank you.
Do we know what time Fogarty's is open until? And then I think there's a brewery a little bit before me too. Like, I'd imagine they've got to be open past 9 on weeknights and weekends.
Happy Valley, if Happy Valley is what you're talking about, they actually close pretty early.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they're,
Okay.
I'm sorry, Fogarty's. And Fogarty's closes
When
at
they
8.
already closes at 8 and Happy Valley at what time? What did you say?
I know,
Thought it was 9 o'clock, maybe 9:30.
they're
also do-
seasonal, so it's hard.
Yeah, and they do live music sometimes, but It has to end at a certain time too, I can't, I can't remember what it was, but.
So 10 o'clock just makes me a little, ooh, that's, you know, for a downtown business to be, I mean, even the pizza place, are we not allowed to adjust that or?
No, I'm just, don't,
Oh.
you are,
Oh.
you can assign whatever you,
Okay.
correct, they can, they're like,
Yes.
you can assign hours to it.
Cause everything else in your application is fine. I appreciate all of the thoroughness with the complete application. I would like to maybe formally shrink the hours where it is documented that they're open, that they would like to be open until 10.
Is that something, I mean, you said that you're kind of asking for 8 to 10, or thinking more of an 8 to 8?
So I would love the opportunity to have the hours from 8 to 10. And I do understand your perspective, like I fully do. However, I've been in this industry for a really long time and it's really, really difficult. And like the way that I look at it, like I just had to do this with another town because when I got the license, they didn't allow me to be open on Sunday. However, there's a bar next to me that's open. And so I had to go in front of the town and say, you don't do this to other businesses. And so I think I'm gonna say the same thing, like if I was trying to open a coffee shop or a brewery, would you limit the hours? And so to be honest, I would love the opportunity to have the hours at 8 to 10, or at least 8 to 9, because just those 2 hours spread across the entire year could mean that I lose quite a bit of money. And that's tough as a business owner, especially when I like want to be in the town, I want to be part of the community, hire locals and stuff like that.
Nature's way of opening 8 to 9. So. I mean, I said, it's not a large,
8 to 9, I'd be happy with.
right, that's what I'm saying, so
Yeah.
nature's way is 8 to 9. I'd be good with splitting in the middle.
I'd be happy with
Instead of 8, I'd be okay with splitting in the middle if
Yeah.
you're acceptable to that.
I would be fine with 9 too.
Yeah, that's
I
great.
think that matches it up with, the Happy Valley, I'm pretty sure it's 9 o'clock there.
Yeah, it depends, if you look at their webpage, sometimes it's 8, sometimes it's 9, depends on the day, sometimes it's 4. So,
But I think they were allowed to operate till 9 o'clock, I want to say.
All right. So if we proceed with a motion to accept this application with the amendment that operating hours change from 8 AM to 8 AM to 9 PM. Is that something that everybody is comfortable with? Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept the application for, Kabursky Industries doing business as Hidden Greens at 438 Lower Main Street to offer them a medical caregiver retail store license in the town of South Berwick, with operating hours amended to be 8 AM to 9 PM.
second,
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Bill?
I,
John?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
thank you for your understanding.
Thank you.
Thank you for being the first one, the guinea pig. All right, up next we have Grow Cannabis is Dalton. Hi. Jenny, could we do the same thing for this one?
Yes, Grow Cannabis is, got planning board approval again for this site location at 297 Main Street. There is an issue with the setback to the school. It is within 1,000 feet of the school. The town council is gonna have to decide on that. I did talk to our attorney today, and planning board approval doesn't equal town council approval. So the, ordinance reads that you need planning board approval, then they come in front of the town council for approval of that license, so I just wanna make you aware of that. There's no other, part in the application that I really saw that didn't comply with the ordinance, that was the only part.
Okay. This is, used to be easygoing
Correct,
cannabis,
yeah.
correct? Okay. So with the setback problem, I guess, that just like brings up some questions for me, because I know that that business was operating for a period of time, and that was established prior to us implementing the 1,000 setback, is that right?
Yes, and also, the planning board, approval, they got the, use hasn't lapsed. So as of July, the use of that
site would lapse without a positive, approved license.
Without looking at the map. How close is it within the 1,000 feet?
There's a letter from the chief.
Yeah, I was-
If you go, chief did door to door, it's GIS to GIS, it's about 438 in some spots and possibly 525 in others.
The chief's letter, Chief Ruger's letter is on page 116. Because I remember too well all the time that we spent putting together these ordinances and the amount of time and effort and thought that went into the decision around the setbacks. And John, I'm kind of like looking to you, because I think you and I were the only ones here. That was that number was the hardest, that was the thing that everyone cared about,
The 1,000.
was the number from the distance from the school.
Yep, because we went with 500 initially and got beat pretty hard. We're going with 500 feet from the school.
I'm inclined, our ordinance states nothing within 1,000 feet. Why did we establish that number if that's not what we were going to uphold? And I also recognize the trickiness of the situation, given that there was an operating cannabis business there previously and the precedent that sets. So I'm just saying that I'm struggling.
And the use has not lapsed.
And we use that.
Yep.
Okay, can you I just wanna make sure everyone totally understands that particular piece. So the current approved use for that location is,
This would be a non-conforming use at this time.
yeah,
And the use would lapse after 1 year, and that use doesn't lapse until July.
okay. And so unless we grant a license, that will lapse in July. If we grant the license, then
That's right.
things continue as is. Okay. Does anyone else have any other thoughts on this? I also want to point out, we don't have to take action on all of these tonight. We could table some of these for another very specific date if we wanted to.
Again, I'm not where you are also, it's not like kind of on the edge, it's like well within the setback, that's pretty significant.
It is, but I'm hung up on the fact that it's. If they hadn't changed owners, we wouldn't be denying them a permit right now. So that's where I'm hung up, and it goes till July. So either we get some information from legal on where we stand, because if we say no, I have an odd feeling these gentlemen might push that point, because again, it's there until July. And yes, no? Which is why you brought that up twice now.
Yes. I did talk to legal today, and he just wanted me to remind you guys that a planning board approval and your approval are very different things.
I'm trying to find just the language in our ordinance, because we specifically talked about kind of this exact scenario in developing that ordinance of like, if a business were to change hands.
It's actually under K.
Thank you.
14067-1, K.
I would love to, given that I do want to understand this changing of hands situation, given the trickiness, I think, of the situation, given our ordinance, but then this is a business that has already been established. I would love to make a suggestion that we table this specific application just to our next council meeting. That would be 2 weeks from now, just to give us a chance to make, I personally definitely feel like I need to feel more comfortable with that aspect of it. Would that be okay with the council? I'm also struggling to find this section in the ordinance right now, which is also part of that.
But if the license never changed, it would have been fine.
I'm gonna go on, I'm gonna go from my limited view and say yes.
We were trying to make it the cleanest way,
Yep.
was to take, was sign a new lease.
Yep.
And get someone out of a failing business. And bring, you know, a good business to the town.
And it's good until July. It's a struggle.
Do we want, am I the only one who's interested in tabling this? Let's figure that out first, or do we wanna? So there's a section here that says change in ownership, if the owner of an existing approved medical marijuana cannabis source seeks to transfer ownership, is that what this situation is? That ownership is being transferred from easygoing to?
Did you buy Easygoing's business or do you have your own business?
We have our own business, we bought the contents of the store, so it'd be a new business.
But you did buy the old.
But we did buy the we bought the lease, we signed a new lease, but we bought him out of the lease.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I recommend the council table this till we send this back to legal for further clarification.
I've stated that's my preference, I would love to push this 2 weeks to just. And I just want you all to know as the applicant where I'm coming from with that, we have an ordinance that specifically states we're not supposed to put a business like this within 1,000 feet of a school. And I just wanna make sure this change.
Are we sure that it's 1,000 feet? I mean, like, from the school to the dispensary, is that a fact that it's under 1,000? Cause I've heard that it was over 1,000.
That is a fact.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
It's way under 1,000.
Well, under 1,000.
It's GIS to GIS, it's line to line.
Okay,
Yeah, and door to door, it's like 738 feet, I think. It's pretty close to that.
Yeah. And again, also coming from the perspective of being part of the development of this ordinance and this particular aspect of the change in ownership was a big thing. Also a big thing that we focused on that I feel like we heard a lot from the public on, how do we deal with these types of situations? And so I would just love to be extra sure and just have some time to consider this, given your application. So I'll go ahead and make a motion that we table the application for. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, Grove Cannabis at 297 Main Street, to our next council meeting. It'll be March 25th at 6:30 PM, and we will resolve this application at that meeting.
okay, thank you.
Second.
I just have one quick
Oh,
question.
sorry, I just need to take care of business real quick. We have a motion and a discussion, motion and a second, any discussion from the council? Yes, go ahead.
Is there anything that you would like us to do in the meantime from now and then, maybe to help the situation?
I don't think so, and I really just wanna make that point clear, that I know you all have submitted every piece of your application and everything is complete. This is 100% a need to just double check with our ordinances and kind of revisit at the next meeting. So to answer your question, I don't believe there's anything additional we need. I think we kindly just need a little time.
Valerie, there's one thing that I
Yeah.
noticed, and it might have just been an oversight, I'm not sure. I did notice in the application that, Dalton, your driver's license, copy of your driver's license was not included in the application, which is needed for the application, but you might have submitted it, it might not have gone into our,
Yeah,
okay, cause
I've been here several times.
There's,
Yeah.
we've got rules and pages, so.
okay, well, so it wasn't in our,
Mhm.
so it might be floating around the office somewhere, but it wasn't in. So yes, could we please check and make sure that we have that for his
I'm pretty
application,
sure
so it's complete?
But I'll.
Yeah.
So there's no
Okay.
other missing like documents or whatever.
Okay,
Thank you.
So we don't need anything from you guys.
okay.
Just a little bit of time, thank you.
Thank you for your understanding.
Yes, thank you. So we have a motion on the table to table the application for Grove Cannabis to March 25th. All those in favor, say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, Jen. Thank you both for your understanding. Moving on to the next applicant, we have Flora, Cody Hall, 556 Elm Ridge Road. Hi. Jenny, can we do the same thing? Thank you for being here.
Sure. So Cody is applying for a medical cultivation license on site. There's a positive letter in the file. It's his parents' house. Do you live there?
Yes.
Okay, and his mother says that she only knows that he grows there and she's fine with that. She started like went out. He is just cultivating on site. The code office has never received a complaint of odor, noise, any kind of, complaints that, coincide with this sort of business. If you look in the file, you're gonna see, department head letters, and they're all positive for this being approved tonight.
Any questions for Jenny or Cody on this one?
Jenny, I do have a question. According to the documents, a building application was pulled in like 2021. And the certificate of use and occupancy was for a utility and storage unit. So would this, if they're using that building for cultivation of cannabis, would that not be needed to be changed to a use of cannabis cultivation instead of a utility storage?
It's not a true use, so, I can work with Cody on any kind of building permits or construction permits that he's gonna need after the fact, after he has an approved license. It is not needed for this approval.
So that was my other question actually is, do we try to issue licenses first and then they go through? Well, because from what I understand from the ordinance is that a lot of it might have been just the retail stores, but they needed to visit the planning board first and then they came to council. So I'm a little, I feel like we're kind of working backwards with, let's give them a license and then get the building in order to operate, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I just want to remind you of how we came to be today. So what happened was a lot of things used to be protected under Office of Cannabis Policy, including, for some reason, this microphone's not working, but I think I speak loud enough. Like, do you want me to talk like?
Yeah, I'll listen to it, yeah.
Can you hear me now? No. Okay, so basically what I want to say is that
He's giving you one.
oh, does it work?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Between the two, you should be good.
We can trade now.
So, how we came to be today, and maybe we should have started here. So the Office of Cannabis Policy used to have all this protected information. You would call and you would, ask questions as complaints would come in. And they would give you this, minimum information. Couldn't figure out who owned the businesses, didn't know where they were all over town, they were protected. That's not the case anymore. So we received a spreadsheet from Office of Cannabis Policy, and it gave us everyone who lives in our town that cultivates or has a retail storefront or does any type of business, delivery business or anything in our town. But they also gave us all kinds of names, and they weren't clear, unfortunately, of everyone who lives in our town that may not cultivate or do business in our town. So everyone got a letter from my office just stating, hey, if you do business in this town, we have a licensing application. Cody's been doing business in our town for more than, he's not just starting, he's up and running. After tonight, after approval, if he gets approval, he will have a visit from code enforcement. We will go through what he has there and we'll see what needs to be permitted, now or in the future permitted. He won't have a sign. Nobody will know he's back there other than if they know from this public hearing or their licenses, if they, wanted to know that, because that is public knowledge. He'll hang his license inside the door and follow the steps of our ordinance. So when it comes to the building permits, a lot of the applicants that you're gonna see tonight, actually, the rest of the applicants you're gonna see tonight, if they have any code enforcement business, they will have to take care of it before they can operate. And they will have to have a certificate of occupancy if needed. But that's gonna be on a, business by business basis and I don't know until I go there. If that makes sense.
Thank you, Jenny. Any other questions? Okay. I'll go ahead and make a motion to grant Flora, located at 556 Emery's Ridge Road, a new cultivation on-site license in the town of South Berwick.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, Cody.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, up next, we have High Striker Farm at 104 Pond Road, application for a renewal cultivation on site. Are you Ryan Reed?
Yes,
Hi, Ryan. Thank you for being here
Hello.
tonight. Yeah, you're welcome to, but don't feel like you need to. Ryan, thank you for being here. Jenny, can I ask that you give us the scoop on this console?
Yes, so Ryan Reed has been in business at 104 Pond Road since before my time. The code office has received several odor complaints. The last one we received was actually from a town employee this week, was driving by doing business on the road and said the smell was, the odor was very much a nuisance. So, cultivation, this is for medical cultivation on site. Ryan does not live on site. He is building a house on site right now. He's had a building permit and an extensions for a few years now. And hopefully the house will be done this year, but he does not live there. So if you look in the file, I wrote a letter to this business. Before approval, I would like to see the town council put some odor mitigation in place for Ryan. Whether or not he, agrees with that, I'm not sure, he'll have to speak to it, but it needs to, the complaints are always about odor, nothing else, nothing about who's on site, how many cars, nothing like that. But definitely odor mitigation needs to be figured out for approval.
Okay, thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
Ryan, can you let us know your thoughts on the odor front?
Yeah, what I can let you know is, my style of cultivation is kind of completely different than a lot of the people in the industry. A lot of the people in the industry, use non-organic, nutrients. They like to feed the plant in what's called salts, and they grow it in rock wool. It's grown indoors. It's also grown without the concept of biology put into the growth. I have a biology degree and an emphasis also in chemistry. I believe that the plant should be grown naturally. So I built a greenhouse during COVID. That greenhouse sustains itself. There's no need for adding fertilizer or any sort of byproducts into the soil. Everything is driven by biology through composting and breaking down those organic materials. I would like to see the rest of the industry following the protocol of how I grow, but I don't think we'll ever see that come into play. I'm a very small cultivator. My greenhouse is 20 feet by 32 feet. It's very small space, but I would have to say I produce some of the highest cultivated medicine in the state. I have numerous awards and have helped numerous people throughout the state through so many different ailments. So I'm very passionate about it, and it's something that I've been doing since I believe 2017. I was licensed by the state and was one of the early on caregivers in the program.
Can you speak to what your plans are for odor mitigation?
Right now we do ozone generator. We have 2 carbon filters that run inside the greenhouse. Unfortunately, the greenhouse regulates its temperature through an exhaust fan. It's naturally how all greenhouses remove heat. So periodically, the exhaust fan needs to come on and pull the heat out of that greenhouse. I put a product inside of that exhaust fan called Ona, and the Ona is an odorizing crystal that's meant to be like a gel crystal that's meant to absorb odor. It mitigates odor and it does help, but it also dries out every day. There is also, that draw of air that moves the air in and out of that greenhouse is also what makes for such a beneficial product, because you get what's called nitrogen fixation. And that's when the plant can take nitrogen from the air and use it to produce better quality medicine. So the air that moves in and out of there is very critical, and it's not something that you can say, I want to seal up a greenhouse and not have any odor move in or out of a greenhouse. Again, I think that what we're talking about is a level of mitigation. I don't think there can be the word elimination used here. And I think that once we can have a way to calibrate the amount of odor, I think that would then fall into the realm of what we could justify. I know many people have pigs, lots of other animals throughout, South Berwick, and the odor that comes off of those animals isn't something that people can complain about. And so, likewise, I feel like the odor from the cannabis is definitely a nuisance, but you could have the same odor coming from any sort of byproduct of farming, which is pretty much what I'm doing on my property.
So what you just explained as far as odor mitigation is what you currently have in place. I mean.
I have a licensed state, I've licensed it with the state and odor mitigation plan
Mhm.
that talks about the times that we change filters in lieu of trying to, like I said, mitigate that odor.
Okay. The code enforcement officer kind of recommended to the council that before we entertain a license for you, that there be further odor mitigation. Can you speak to what you may plan to implement?
I think for what the technology is available in the industry right now, I'm utilizing every technology available. I think beyond that, you're talking about growing a plant within a sealed environment to not allow any odor to remove from that environment. And I think it's physically impossible. I've done as much as I can do. I also feel that the odor complaints, majority of them have, she said one came from a town person recently, but I can honestly say I don't think that if we looked at all of them, they would come from a slew of people. It's a majority of them have come from one specific residence.
Questions, thoughts? No?
I have two questions outside of the odor mitigation problem. Per the request of Chief Ruger, he requested that a burglar alarm be installed. Has one been installed since your application was submitted?
I have no news yet to me of a burglar alarm, and I haven't heard anything of that.
Okay, and then it was also requested by Chief Hamel that a better floor plan be received. Per the request, has a better floor plan been submitted that includes windows and other escapes and stuff like that?
I don't know about the escapes, but I did do an enlarged plan at one point for them, from the smaller plan that I had. So, and I can, expand upon it, but, as far as I know that, the windows are all sealed from the inside so that no light or anything can come into the garage space. And the garage is where we also do some cultivation in the garage space also.
Your questions were valid about the burglar alarm and the floor plan. So I guess I'm trying to understand, like, in terms of completeness of application, we've received these letters from the police chief, the fire chief with recommendations, what they would like to see, but implementing those recommendations from the police chief or the fire chief aren't necessarily what makes a complete application, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, it's just their recommendation. Thank you. Anyone else have any other thoughts or questions on this one? Jenny, do you have any suggestions as far as like odor mitigation?
I don't have suggestions, these cultivators are the experts on what they can do. However, I do believe that everybody should have a fair shake at enjoying their property and being able to be outside during those cultivation times. If she wants to garden, if she wants to sit out on her deck, I think she should be able to do it without the nuisance of the smell. If you've ever lived close to a cultivation facility, small scale or large scale, I personally have. It is a nuisance and it can be a nuisance, and there are ways to take care of that. Otherwise, this would be a nuisance all over the state and it's not. So I would like to see something more concrete and mitigating these odors so that neighbors, doesn't matter if it's 1 or 20, can enjoy their property.
Fair. Anyone else have questions or comments?
I think we'd be in the same place if someone started a farm. You move in next to a farm, that's different.
That's exactly what happened. I had my house built there and I was already operating a farm, and then a contractor came in and built a home next to me that a neighbor moved into, and it's been complaining ever since. So they maybe should have looked before they moved into that home on what was already licensed and was operating by the state next door.
I think I would be open to tabling this one to the next meeting as well, because it is a little more complicated.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, again, I don't know what the ordinance number, operating businesses are supposed to be, try to mitigate odor and noise and things of that nature, so I'd have to look into a little bit more. Well, we don't have there was no planning board application I believe, for this one, right? So they didn't.
Sorry, correct, keep going.
Okay, I was just wondering if there was, there's no,
This was before our time, just so
Sure.
you know, these complaints started coming in under, past code enforcement officer. That's how long this has been sort of an issue.
Mhm.
And I don't think that it's a big problem. I think that, some extended odor mitigation is great. Sometimes, the complaints don't come in all the time. Obviously, there's certain times of the year they are most, and then you say to yourself, okay, well, when the odor mitigation is a problem, is it because, like, I reached out to Ryan before? Oh, so let me back up. I reached out to Ryan every time there's a complaint that comes in, and he's like, no problem, I'm gonna change the crystals. He's always open to, doing whatever it takes in that moment to make it better. Whether or not it works or not, I'm not really sure, but the complaints stopped coming in for a little bit. So if the crystals are working, maybe a good solution is catching it before. Go on a different schedule, maybe like a schedule could be submitted where the crystals were changed more. I don't really know, but when he knowingly knows about the issue, he fixes the issue. So how do we long-term fix the issue? So we stop playing it's bad again, okay, I'm gonna fix it, it's bad again, I'm gonna fix it. How do we get there? That's my question, and I think that needs to be.
I think part of the reason the odor changes too is the process throughout the cultivation. You start off with a vegetative plant that has no flower and no bud on it, and it has no smell. And then it takes about 3 months to cultivate that plant in that soil. And then at the end of that last 2 to 3 weeks, the ripening process takes place. And when that ripening process is taking place, that plant is emitting and breathing every night tons of respiration, and that respiration is the smell of that plant getting put off into the air. It's a natural process that takes place, and all plants do it at night, the respiration cycle. Like I said, the greenhouse is meant to breathe. It's a different environment. It's a much more sustainable and environmentally friendly way to cultivate a plant that the whole state should be looking more towards how they do it. I'm actually running this greenhouse all year round, and it never stops cultivation. It's an entity that's heated with propane. It has electricity in it, and we keep every bit of the biology alive in there all year round, and cultivate that and nurture that all throughout the cycle.
I want to just make sure we all clearly kind of understand roles and responsibilities at this point. So our ordinance specifically states many things about odor management. We're hearing that there has been a complaint about odor management. If we were to grant a license right now, I'm sort of trying to figure out what action we could potentially take and say, grant this license with contingency or whatever to make sure that some further odor mitigation was completed, and then how do we ensure that that's done?
I think that if you're asking me, I think the perfect way to do this here is to grant the license with conditions and conditions of odor mitigation. And just let Mr. Reed know that at any time, if a notice of violation needs to go for odor, for nuisance of odor, I can do that. And it will be brought back to the board, and at any time you guys are able, with those notice of violation, to suspend or revoke that license.
I don't know, I feel like taking that route might be almost a waste of resources. Mr. Reed has already explained that he's doing the best of his ability at the highest standards of mitigation for what he grows. So he's pretty much saying there's nothing else that he can do. And if we're gonna play cat and mouse with waiting for people passing by or neighbors or town employees passing by to make complaints, we're just gonna be chasing an odor of, and now the code enforcement officer is gonna get a call, then she's gotta go out and check on it, and then, okay, then we mitigate it for a minute, and then a couple of months later, even though I know the smell predominantly emits during the flowering stage of the cannabis, so it's seasonal, that the smell is probably a little worse than other times of the season. But I just feel like it's almost, we either stand by our, like, the whole giving conditions, we're just prolonging a nuisance for one of the parties involved. Like, I don't know.
Madam Chair, after reviewing ordinance 140-67-2, section L, section 1, specifically talks about odor control and requesting that the town council table this till next meeting. I think there's some things that we need to brief you on. And then have an opportunity to come back with more informed information. I'd recommend tabling this.
I agree with that. I think I'll go ahead and make a motion to table the application for High Striker Farm at 104 Pine Road to March 25th. We'll have it resolved at our next meeting. Tim, and any of that, is there any, well, first of all, can I get a second? Second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the table, for discussion. Tim and Jen, is there anything in particular that we should request of Mr. Reed?
Not at this time, we just table it. I needed to review, and I just reviewed it, so I think there are some things in there that I need to brief the council on to be more prepared to have a further discussion with the applicant.
Okay. We have a motion on the table this for next meeting on March 25th. All those in favor, Melissa? Aye. Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Ryan, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for your patience. We will take this up again in 2 weeks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last cannabis application. This is 559 LLC doing business as Sugar Shack. Is that correct?
No, it's okay.
Okay, please correct me.
Not too worried about it.
Okay, you're John.
I'm John,
yes, Okay, nice to
meet you.
Thank you for being here. Jenny, give us a scoop.
Sure, Mr. Gallagher lives at 599 Emery's Bridge Road. He does kind of like a delivery business, so he doesn't cultivate on site and he doesn't sell from his location. Let me see if I can get this right off the top of my head. Stop me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no worries.
Mr. Gallagher and I have had multiple conversations. He picks up the product from one store, has it processed in another location, and then picks it up and delivers it back to the store. Am I close?
Yeah, essentially,
Perfect.
exactly.
So, you would be granting a license for Mr. Gallagher to conduct his business, not at 599 Emery's Bridge Road, and not in a retail kind of setting. He basically is a delivery. There's probably other words for it, but we would consider it a delivery service.
He's an Uber for cannabis.
If you look-
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, if you look in his file, that was presented to you in the supporting documents, each, department head made a positive, yeah, sorry, late at night, positive reference, for this approval.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Gallagher or for Jenny on this application?
No downside to this one.
I don't think so.
What is the correct business name?
599 LLC is what it's registered as.
Okay, where am I getting Sugar Shack from then?
That's a strain of the cartridge. It's like a type of marijuana.
I think there's a picture and. yeah,
Oh,
Sugar Shack.
cool.
It's-
Oh,
it's the
labeling.
logo.
Yeah.
I
okay.
chose a cool one, yeah.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to grant 599 LLC, run by John Gallagher, a caregiver license for no cultivation in the town of South Park.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Hi.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Thank you to everyone who came out for this topic this evening. Jenny, thank you so much for being here. give me a moment to get back on track. Our next, I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion now to move reports and presentations. Jenny is here to give us an update on building codes. I'm making a motion to move that item up in the agenda to take place next.
Actually, Tim just said that I could go home.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay, okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye, Melissa.
Aye.
Bill.
Aye.
John.
Alright.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Jenny, thank you.
You guys don't have to stay if you don't want to. This is gonna be long and boring, but join us if you want. Oh, stop it. Hold on one second. Let me just.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Okay. Let me just get my words together here. Hold on. Okay. Okay, are we ready? Can you go to the first slide? All right, so I'm here to do a mini presentation on the MUBEC code update. The state of Maine right now, you can go to the second slide if you wish. I wish I had a button, sorry. The state of Maine is on the MUBEC codes for 2015 right now. As of April 7th, actually January 9th, 2025, we received a letter from Greg Gilbert. He's the state building official, letting us know that we are doing an update of the codes to 2021, starting April 7th, 2025. So we're just gonna have a quick presentation tonight on kind of what that means for the town of South Berwick, some of the changes. I can tell you that there's over 1,000 changes that have been in place from the 2015 to the 2021 codes. We're not gonna go through them all. If you guys have questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I'm not sure that I would know 100% of the answers, but let's try it, okay? Any building permits that are issued after April 7th, 2025 is going to have to go to the new code. Right now, we're on purple cards. That doesn't mean anything to you unless you have a building permit in our town. How we're gonna decipher which codes we're going on at that time until the new fiscal year on July 1, we're gonna change them to hot pink. So we know, I know, the fire chief knows, anyone that enters that building that has any kind of inspection or anyone doing work there, it's gonna tell everybody and let us all know what we're actually inspecting and which code we're inspecting on. There is a blast of building codes, building permits that will be coming in. Right now, I've had 7 meetings just this week with potential developers trying to get building permits before that code change. You can move, yeah, okay. So let's start with the IBC. So the IBC is the International Building Code. I just have a couple notes for each slide. Again, if you guys want to go into depth, we can. We'd be here for a while, so I'm just going to do some bullet points on each, if that's okay. So for the fire code part of this, there's sprinkler requirements. Anything that's 4 stories or higher at this time is going to have automatic sprinklers, which helps our fire department. So for this code, there's energy efficiency standards for commercial building. There's let's see, health and safety protocols. There's egress for better crowd control in commercial buildings and a quicker exit just in case of an emergency. There's better thermal performance. There's energy efficiency, which we're gonna go into later. And then there's some green building and sustainability. What does that mean? That means EV car plugs. That means better building materials. That means more fire resistant building materials. And again, all these are gonna be, what you're gonna see is when I talk about the IBC, which I am, and I go into the IEC, a lot of them are kind of related. We're actually adding 3 different code books to our code library because unfortunately, when you go through and you say, okay, I need to see the IBC for the green code, well, there's a whole green code that supports that book. You'll see that tonight. You can trade. All right, so the International Energy Conservation Code. Yes. This is good, yeah. Sorry, I thought you changed slides, but you're good. So this is the International Energy Conservation Code. This gives us kind of the energy efficiency. It gives us the glazing on the windows. It gives us the R value in the walls, which is your insulation values in ceilings and basement floors. So just for like, instance, right now under the IEC 2015, if you were to insulate a wall of a house, it's the R value is 21. It's going up to 25 and 30 in some spots. If you were gonna insulate a ceiling in a house or a commercial building, I should say commercial building too, the R value right now is R49. It's going up under the new 2021 code to R60. So there are different ways to establish those R values, but it is costly for a lot of people, and you'll see that at the end. For the IACC, it's mostly about better for performance standards, better insulation, better heating, energy savings, renewable energy, those types of things. You can trade. The IRC, the International Residential Code, on the slide, you're gonna see, some fire resistant building material that includes stone, concrete, steel, some glass, some brick, there's water saving fixtures that are under the new IRC codes, just better water quality, stronger provisions for accessibility for those who want to age in place, and South Berwick is such an age in place town. So those will be great for that. There's some solar readiness too. We can go into better detail on that when we give the presentation. On March 19th, we're gonna hold a class up here in this room where we're gonna deep dive into these slides, and we're gonna deep dive into what all these changes are. We're probably not gonna go through all 1,000, but we're gonna come pretty close. So that is for the public contractors. We've sent out flyers to all the contractors that we know that live in town. We've put it on the website, but it's literally for anybody. Anybody is welcome to come. So again, the IRC also includes those green building materials, construction waste management, and fire separation is going to increase between garages and homes. As you know, there's been some fires here in town alone, in the town I live in, with simple things like lawnmowers, having grass and catching fire and burning down buildings and such. So there's some protections in place for that. Hold on, go back. Also, it's gonna touch base on roof pitches, and it's also gonna touch base on clean air throughout homes. Okay. Yep, this is a whole new brand new code that's gonna be introduced under the 21 codes. This is the International Mechanic Code. This is gonna give better venting for fuel equipment. This is not something that here in town we inspected before. Right now, if you were to put up a single family dwelling, it's 8 to 10 inspections for that one building permit. So it's going to increase that by having to check gas lines and perfect pitches of that, ventilation, clearances, that all speaks to better in this code and makes, you know, single family homes and 2-family homes more efficient. Okay, you can move on. Thank you. This one is the International Existing Building Code. This is for retrofitting elevators into buildings like this one. It's for bigger doorways. It's for residential and commercial. It's for mixed uses. It's for fire occupancy loads. It kind of touches a little bit of everything with renovation projects or additions. A lot of times you want to put an addition on your home. You might want to update the bathroom upstairs at the same time. This is the kind of code that I would look at to make sure that you're meeting all the energy efficient codes with knowing that, you know what, your house was built in 1970, you're not gonna be able to 100% meet them. That's where this book comes in, and this is where this code kind of helps those. We're not 100%, like, you know, sometimes you go in a home and a builder's like, I can't vent this properly. So we have to be creative with staying within the code and figuring out how they can properly vent that. So far, so good on that. It's also clear enforcement issues if, say a company wants to come in and they want to vent something and we tell them no, and they're like, I can't, I have to do it. We have clear, like, we can just take care of that with a notice of violation where we didn't used to be able to. The next one is gonna be, a supporting kind of, document. This is the International Property Maintenance Code. And I know we've talked about that here in town before. I know that we've had conversations at the planning board level about that. There are planning board members that are for this code, not for this code. The problem is we're not really implementing this code. What we're doing, Tim and myself, Tim is the local health officer, and I'm the deputy local health officer. Sometimes unfortunately, we get a call for pest complaints or, just filth in houses and how do we take care of that? This code is gonna help support that, but it's also gonna work with the IBC and the IRC and the energy codes to make sure that all those standards are met and that we have proper guidance on that. Okay. This one is the International Green Conservation Code. So this one is gonna give us our solar, our renewable energy, which is solar. It's also going to speak to those EV chargers, those electric vehicle chargers that under the new 21 building code, most buildings and houses need to implement on build. They also give standards on how to, when building when building, how to, are you taking a picture? Okay. I'm gonna stop talking.
I have to stop.
Every picture I've ever been in, I'm like, okay, so, basically, back to it, it's basically gonna say like, hey, I'm applying for a building permit, and it's gonna give like, renewable energy, it's gonna, what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to create a situation where if you wanted to add renewable energy, like solar panels to the top of your home or whatnot, it's gonna give us guidance to do that right then and there for future, instead of all these companies coming in, having to, contact CMP, do all these notifications for the increase of that. So, sorry for that word, whatever picture. Okay, so indoor environmental quality is touch base in this code as well, and that's why it's important that we do this supporting document. Indoor, it's just venting, air quality, bathroom fans, whole house, Okay, so next slide. What does that mean for South Berwick? So I've done a lot of research. It took me a lot of time to kind of go through all of these codes and figure out like how this is gonna affect South Berwick. Higher business building costs, longer application reviews for sure. Increased inspections, again, we're 8 to 10 right now. Some of these buildings are gonna be 14, 15, 16 inspections during the building process. They're also gonna have to submit, inspection reports. They're already doing blower door tests, that they have to submit to get a CO, and it just is energy efficiency. The other thing is it's also gonna have to, contractors are gonna have to, I should say, sorry, submit reports for their mechanical too. So during the building, application phase right now, they don't have to submit documents of electricity or mechanical. They're gonna have to submit those plans with their building permit. So what does it also mean for South Berwick? Like on the better side of that, it's gonna be higher energy efficiency, better quality of build, homeowner protection. It's gonna allow for our elderly to age in place as they wish. And it's gonna be plug and play renewable energy, which is huge for this community right now. We have a lot of rooftop solar right now, and we expect more. On March 19th, we invite the public to come and listen. It's gonna be about an hour. We're gonna touch base and we're gonna deep dive into actually parts of the code that matter for our general contractors, homeowners, any do-it-yourselfers that wanna come. And also, all these manuals and all these books are located in the code office. You're welcome to come in Monday through Thursday from 8 to 4:30, anytime you'd like, sit down with a book. They cannot leave our office, and I'm available to answer any questions that, the public or contractors or anybody might have. I might not know all the answers to all the 1,000, plus, updates, but I did take a training on it and I have been doing a lot of research and a lot of deep diving into it. So I think that we can really help anybody who needs it at this point. We're not experts, but by the end of this, we might be close. Tim, I just wanted to mention real quick that Tim and I had a conversation this morning, and I guess there was a legislature change proposed for, I'm gonna let him speak to it.
There's emergency legislation being submitted by some of the state reps. So right now, under the state law, communities under 4,000 don't have to adopt building codes. It's a recommendation by the state. Over 4,000, we're required to do it. There's a new emergency legislation that's being submitted, that'll say between 4,000 and 10,000, it'll be recommended only. So we'll see where that ends up, and of course, you know, communities with over 10,000, there's not that many of them in Maine. Most of them hit between 8 and 10. So I did find out this morning that that's some of the representatives are scrambling to.
So speaking on that, I think that's great that they're trying to do that. I will say that South Berwick is ready for these changes. And I also want to just make you aware, and most people don't know that the code books are actually, and the International Building Code is actually the worst way you could ever build a house. So a lot of our contractors are already exceeding the requirements, not necessarily the energy requirements for insulation at this time, because it's already hard enough for them to get the insulation in place. However, a lot of our contractors do a really nice job going above and beyond, and some of the implements that are happening, they're already doing. So I ran a cost analysis. I just want to kind of end with this. I ran a cost analysis on what it would take under the 2015 building code to build a 16,000 square foot or 1,600 square foot house, sorry. And I called around to local companies that mostly do work here in South Berwick or in surrounding communities, North Berwick, Elliott, Berwick, just because I wanted to see like the cost comparison from now to then. So the cost difference between building under the 2015 code, and this is just a rough estimate, to building under the 2021 building code is anywhere between $0, which we know is not the case, to upward around $23,000. And that's the cost increase. So it's bad, but it's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be, to be honest. So that's it. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. I do encourage you guys to come to our presentation on the 19th if you're available. It starts up here in this room at 10 a.m. Are you sleeping at that time?
No, I wanted to see what day it was.
Oh,
March 19th, yeah, what day of the week is that? Wednesday.
it is a Wednesday, yeah. It's your birthday? Oh, happy birthday then. Well,
Bring cake.
gluten-free cake for her.
Jenny, thank you for giving us an overview of all of these many changes.
We got you.
And thank you for being willing to host the workshop on the 19th for all the local people. I hope there's good turnout. With the potential legislation, so what happens to us then if that is adopted, I guess?
Well, the 5 municipal officials that orchestrate policy in town, we have to make a decision whether you're going to use the 2015 code, whether you don't enforce any codes at all, or you keep the 2021 codes.
Okay, let's mentally prepare ourselves if we get there.
Sounds like I
That's
should
all
look for a
we'll
new
need to
job.
know.
I might be working out of school after this. Is that what you're saying? No.
I'm out.
Does anyone have any questions for Jenny? No. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I know it's a long night. We appreciate it.
Oh, no, thank you guys. Thanks.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
I'd just like to, thank Jenny, I know she, amongst everything else she had to do, just crept up and we started having this discussion last October. And she spent a lot of time this winter doing all this research. Being on, the listserv with other town managers and New York County Managers Association, I can tell you, we're very fortunate with Jenny, that she's really dug into this. There are places where code enforcement officers have quit because of this. And there are other places where code enforcement officers said, I'm not doing anything with it, I don't have time. Jenny has taken the ball, kept the curve down, and, you know, when we talked about having a recommendation for a public meeting, so she could brief all the contractors, you know, she was eager to do that, so good job, Jenny, and thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Jenny. All right.
Good night, guys.
Bye, thank you, good night. All right, to get us back on track, we're now at approval of the following minutes. Feels very late to be doing that. I will go ahead first, make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our public hearing for the TIP Credit Enhancement Agreement Program as written.
Second.
Thank you. A motion and a second. Any discussion or edits to those minutes? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Next, approving the minutes from our public hearing on the TIP amendment to the transit district. I'll go ahead and make a motion to adopt the minutes from the public hearing for the TIP amendment to the transit district as written.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. And last set of minutes is from our council meeting on February 25th, 2025. I'll make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from our council meeting on February 25th, 2025 as written.
Second.
Thank you. Motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Up next, we have the treasurer's warrants. I can't find it currently.
Chair, I move we sign the treasurer's warrant, in the amount of $950,988.76 dated 3/6/2025.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? This includes the school payment, correct? Okay. All those in favor of signing the treasurer's warrant, say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Okay, that's signing of the treasurer's warrant, reports and presentations is done, public comment. Is there anyone who would like to speak on anything that's not on the agenda? No takers? Okay, I will just say, I just want to read in one quick email that the council received, from Rebecca Henry, who was on Vine Street. She says, "Dear South Berwick Town Council, first, thank you for all you do for our beautiful town. I'm reaching out on a rather trivial matter, but it suggested that I do so. It is my understanding that we will be upgrading our sewer treatment plant. And while we are doing so, I think it would be prudent to also rebrand the area and update signage, changing the name from quote sewer district to something more reflective of the area and its history and natural beauty. For example, the Riverbend District, Watershed District. No one wants to live in or visit a sewer district. Again, I realize this is a small matter, but also see it as an opportunity to beautify and honor our town. Thank you, Rebecca Henry." Do we have any say in that? Given that we're sewer district is quasi-municipal?
Probably not.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wanted to bring it up, and I will close the loop with Rebecca, but wanted to make sure we talked about that today. All right, moving on to unfinished business number 1, FY 26 budget discussion. I will just give a little bit of an update here for the public. So the council's been working diligently. Staff has been working on the budget for quite some time. Council and staff, we met last Tuesday and Thursday, March 4th and 6th, to workshop the budget. Both of those are available on our website under the finance page and will be put to our YouTube page in the next couple of days, but you should be able to catch up on those workshops if you'd like. We had a great discussion, and we'll be meeting again a week from today to continue those budget conversations. So we still have some decisions to make. I just wanted to give an overview of kind of where things are looking so far. None of this is set in stone or locked in, but just keeping everyone updated. If we take into account just the regular operational changes that have been proposed by the manager to our FY 26 municipal budget, that's looking like either a 3.93% increase or a 4.92% increase. The difference between the two is how much we choose to pull from the undesignated fund. We are kind of considering either pulling $900,000 or $1 million from the undesignated fund. That's still a discussion point for the town council. That operational budget includes our town hall bond payment, which will be an interest-only payment for this first year. And we are actually able to pay for half of that from our TIP district fund. So this budget does include the town hall bond payment for half of the total amount, which is about $122,000, and the remaining funds will be pulled from TIP. It includes an incremental behavioral health liaison that would be under the police department, as well as an incremental 24-hour part-time recreation position. It also includes some removals of CIP contributions. CIP is our capital improvement plan, where we set aside money every year to save money so that we can make bigger improvements and complete bigger projects. The manager kind of strategically pulled some of those back this year to help us lessen the burden on taxpayers. This is in the proposals for 1 year only. That's also still a topic that the council is discussing. And this budget does take into account the fact that we are able to use about $665,000 to, support our operational budget from the TIF funds. Any corrections or anything anyone wants to add on that point to the group? Okay. The other thing that is important that everyone just be aware of, in the budget is that there is, an additional increase in expenses proposed, for us to stand up our own in-house, EMS and fire service here in South Berwick. I first want to just thank Chief Hamill for the work, really hard work he's done on what it would take for us to do this. And the reason why we are considering this is because we currently contract with York Ambulance, who is a private ambulance provider. And our contract fees for York Ambulance have increased significantly over the past few years. That was included in our budget last year. That contract fee is now up to like around 300,000, correct?
Over 300.
Over 300,000, and it used to be only around 100.
100,000.
Yeah, so that fee has gone up significantly for us, and I think everyone would agree that that has not also come with an increase in our level of service. It's just been an increase in payment. And in addition to that, Governor Mills recently proposed a 67% tax on private ambulance services, which makes it only more likely that our rates as the town of South Berwick, working with a private ambulance company, would increase, and also the potential that private ambulance services seem to be on a course to continue to struggle and to stay afloat. So it would be in our best interest to consider bringing on our own fire and EMS service. So that's one thing that we discussed last week, catch up on that on our workshop recording. And we will go into this in more detail once we approve and finalize the budget, and this will be presented in more detail at the annual town meeting. But we are proposing, at least at this point, and included in the budget we've been discussing, is a plan to go live with our South Berwick Fire EMS service beginning in July of 2026, requiring onboarding and training and kind of those new employees we can be hiring coming on as early as May of 2026. From a cost perspective, that's the most important thing here. If we weren't to make any changes to both our EMS and fire service, our budget would be around $950,000 for those two line items. With the new addition of expanding our fire and rescue service, as I've just discussed, that would involve increasing our operational budget from around $948,000 to around $1.26 million for the FY26 fiscal year. And of course, any new business, any new startup, there's obviously startup fees associated with that. Some obvious ones in this case are, we need an ambulance. We need to hire the EMTs and paramedics that would potentially staff that. So the chief and the manager has proposed that those startup costs, like the purchase of an ambulance, medical equipment, licensing, exams, gear, those types of things, would be pulled from our undesignated fund to get us up and running. So if we do consider the fire and rescue service expansion included in our budget, that does increase our overall budget from around anywhere between 3 to 5% increase. Without that, we're looking at closer to 6 to 7% increase if we consider the fire and rescue budget, which feels not very much to me, given how much additional service we would be adding to this community. So anything else anyone wants to add? That's the budget update. We again will be meeting next week for another budget workshop on the 18th, and later on, just shortly, we're going to schedule a public hearing to present the final budget to the public.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
So in that proposal for fire rescue, would you also relate to the public that this is we'd be hiring joint cross-trained individuals, so there'll be paramedic firefighters and EMT firefighters, so they'll be staffing the ambulance full-time and the fire trucks full-time, however, whichever call comes first.
Yeah.
Whereas right now, it's just an EMS, so looking at the long-range plan and knowing that we're starting to have tougher times staffing the volunteer fire trucks in the years to come forward, Chief Hamill has already discussed it. He would probably need some daytime help, so this will solve two problems.
Thank you. Yes, that's another factor to this, of it's kind of building up our fire department as well. And we also have the dynamic in South Berwick where we're so fortunate to have a largely volunteer fire department that is an aging population. And we don't seem to necessarily be having the new people coming on board with the folks that are aging out. So this is, speaking for myself, I think this is an important move for South Berwick to make, to set up this very essential service in our town, especially given the York ambulance situation, and that seems a little bit at risk. Anyone else have anything to add on the budget? Okay, we can move on from unfinished business to new business number 1. Secundo is looking for liquor license renewal.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the liquor license for Secundo LLC. Their business in good standing. There's been no issues reported.
Second, thank you. We have a, did you make a motion? Yeah,
Yes.
you motion, okay, sorry. We have a motion on the table. All those in favor of approving the liquor license for Secundo, say aye. Melissa?
Oh, question.
Oh, yes, yes.
Dotting i's and crossing t's, on number 11, do you own or have any interest in any other main liquor license? The box was left unchecked, but then they continued to explain when further information was requested. Again, it's just an number 11 on there.
I would say they got confused and realized, check that box.
Okay,
I don't think it's.
it's not a big deal.
It would be more of a concern if they checked the box, no, and then added business to it.
Okay.
I think they put their business down just thinking, it doesn't matter whether Chestnut, we'll just tell you the business and miss checking, yes.
Thank you for your attention, speak up.
That's my annoying attention.
No, it's good. I think especially if this were a new application, that definitely would be a little more of a question, but we're renewing. Okay, we have a motion on the table to renew the liquor license for Secundo. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. New business number 2, alewives harvesting. So just to set some context here, each year the town council, we have a requirement to take action on the harvesting of alewives and blueback herring in the Salmon Falls River. The council, we either can decide to close the waters within South Berwick to harvesting for conservation purposes or institute an ordinance prior to April 1st. Recommendation is to authorize the taking of alewives and blueback herring in South Berwick as allowed by the state recreational fishing limit of a maximum of 25 fish per individual per day for the 2025 harvesting season. Commercial harvesting is not allowed.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the table. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. And up next, we need to set a date for our public hearing for the FY26 budget. Staff is recommending that we set that date for, and I'll just make a motion, I'm gonna make a motion to set the date for the FY26 budget public hearing for Tuesday, April 8th, 2025, here at Town Hall, on the 3rd floor at 6:30 p.m.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of holding the public hearing on April 8th, say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to new business number 4, planning board resignation. We received a letter of resignation from Zach Noble, choosing to resign from his position as an alternate on the planning board. His term expires on June 30th, 2026. I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept the resignation of Zach Noble from the planning board.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Thank you, Zach, for your service on the planning board. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Because we just processed a resignation, conveniently we have a new application, for someone to join them, to replace that position on the planning board, because I think otherwise our planning board is full. So we have received an application from Ryan Crosby to apply for the planning board. I was gonna suggest that we plan to schedule an interview at 6:15, ahead of our next council meeting. Does that work for everybody? Is that too early, Bill? Schedule an interview with Ryan Crosby, a potential planning board member for March 25th at 6:15 PM here at Town Hall ahead of our council meeting.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. And to Diane or whoever's gonna be working with Brian, if that day doesn't work, just let us know. We'll figure out another date. Thank you. And our last order of business is number 6, credit enhancement agreement application. So at our last council meeting, we held a public hearing on, the kind of whether or not we, and the council decided that we were going to continue and use this TIF credit enhancement agreement program as a tool here in South Berwick. And, we have actually already received a credit enhancement agreement application from Kent Scoville of PKS Woodworks LLC, and he's in the Pumpkin Town TIF district. And essentially, we are just looking to allow the manager to enter into negotiations for that credit enhancement agreement application. And because this is new, just remind me what happens after you work with the individual on the credit enhancement
So
agreement.
then after we have to come to an agreement, negotiations. Then I would bring that agreement to you in executive session, where you take the opportunity to review it, I'd go over it with you and then either come to a consensus or come out of executive session and either approve it or not.
Great, thank you. I'll go ahead and make a motion to direct the town manager to enter into negotiations on a potential credit enhancement agreement with Kent Scoville of PKS Woodworks LLC for tax map 1, lot 33-1 within the Pumpkin Town Road and CMP corridor omnibus TIF district.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John? Aye. Motion passes 4-0. That is all of our business this evening. Thank you everyone for your patience. And I will let you do the town manager's report.
All right. Transfer station has been slow, but things are running smoothly. The library, they have a new shelf of addiction recovery books. There are 10 titles in a discrete location. The books are free to take, for anybody who needs them. February staff program attendance, they had 405 people attending their program. They had 2,289 people on their door count February, and items borrowed were 2,254. Recreation, 100% of our staff from last summer is returning to this summer's summer camp program. House has sold 2,086 tickets for the season, been open for a total of 24 days. It's the highest they've had since 2014. For the seniors this week, they have St. Patrick's Day luncheon. We'll have Irish dancers coming to perform for the first time, and I'm ecstatic to say that John James is leading them.
Nice. No issue.
No, just kidding.
I love clogging.
Just kidding. Assessing Verner's working on the full value abatement request she received. She expects to have one case be scheduled on 3/25 for the Board of Assessors meeting, and up to 3 at the April 8th Board of Assessors meeting. Brittany, her assistant, is assisting Jenny and Coden on the E911 list to identify any issues and ensure compliance is being done. Diane is back, welcome back. She came back in 2 pieces, we put her back together and she's doing better. From both Diane and us, we'd like to thank both Monique and Billy for running the office while Diane was out. And March 19th, 20, Monique, Bill, and Billy will be in Augusta for training. What kind of training?
Vital records.
Vital records? Highway, they've been filling potholes, trimming brush on the roads, especially from the wind that they had this past week. Lining up CIP road work for the summer. Police department had 3 arrests, 4 accidents, 157 traffic stops, and is a 300% in 300% improvement on traffic stops from what we usually have done. Because we now have an officer, because the staff is full, Chief Ruger has appointed 1 officer as a traffic patrol division officer. All he does is stop cars all day long, and he changes his schedule throughout the week, so he's never in the same.
He's all over town.
He's all over town. And people are noticing, and people are, the word's getting out. And if you're speeding and driving fast, he's looking for you. Overtime is down now that we have 2 new police officers that have completed field training and we're working, and they're all working regular schedule, so that's the benefit of having a full force. Fire department, 17 calls in the last 2 weeks, 97 year to date. Final inspection trip for the new fire truck is scheduled for March 30th, April 2nd. Truck committee will travel to Pass Manufacturing in Atherton, Wisconsin, to inspect the newly completed truck and perform a number of functional tests prior to being shipped to the dealer in Massachusetts for delivery preparation, and that's paid for by, that's in the contract, so that's all paid for by the cost of the truck. Code enforcement, 3 building permits, issued 1 plumbing permit. She's done 19 inspections, has 3 active violations, and has seen an increased traffic in the office due to many questions about new codes and new spring projects. Planning and economic development, March 17th, downtown business check-in at 9 AM at the community center. Businesses are encouraged to come in and share your ideas. Anything you wanna add to that?
We'll have coffee and bagels since it's gonna be at 9 AM. And it's a very casual conversation with the businesses, is to basically share some of the things that we're doing and to get their feedback on some of the things that they would like to see going forward.
Thank you. April 26th, Shoetown Playground Community Cleanup and reopening at 9 AM, 12 PM, come help us fix up the community park, share a little food and game of kickball. Let's see what else we have. So finance and HR and benefits is budget. Myself, I've been in budget meetings, so some of the changes this week, we have notified P. Gagnon, we're no longer using them for services after many years. We've hired GF Rashad out of Dover. They came in with a better price on both service and we've been having some multiple issues that have been reoccurring that haven't been fixed. And they finally came in and fixed it one time. So we're now using them for all our buildings. Tuesday, March 18th, the town hall will be closed for training all day along with the library. That's for anybody who wants to attend. Remember, the budget workshop is on March 18th, starting at 6 PM. And I want to inform the council that we received Jenny, the fire chief and police officer went over and did an inspection. Surprise inspection at 161 at Dunford Road, because of the medical caregiver license and a denial of the retail license. And she found that, it was all recorded. And Jenny found that he was in violation. He was still operating his retail store. So she gave him a violation complaint. And he had 14 days to fix it. His attorney has called and says they have now officially closed down the retail store. Jenny's going back at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning to re-inspect it with law enforcement. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Tim. Council comments? Melissa?
Nothing this evening.
Bill?
I just want to say a big thank you to town staff for pulling together the budget, and a huge thank you to Jen for sitting down with me prior to the budget meetings to kind of comb through it. She broke it down tremendously and helped out a lot, so big kudos to Jen and thank you very much.
John?
All set?
I just have a couple of things. I attended the Sister City meeting one day last week. This is the partnership that we had with Southwark has with Tuskegee, and just kind of attended as kind of a workshop to come up with ideas. I thought it would be a good idea. I don't think it necessarily would be anytime soon, but I think it'd be great for the Sister City group to come and provide just updates to council on what their latest efforts are. In addition to that, I also attended on Sunday at 4, in the Sister City kind of vein. Karen Hopkins is one of our partners from Tuskegee, and she recently wrote a memoir, and so there was a book launch at 4 on Sunday. That was just a lovely community event that I was really glad that I attended. Congrats to the Guest Group MHS of M. Archwood, the One Act Play team. They performed Citizens United locally a few weeks ago, and they completed the regionals at Thornton Academy in Saco, I think. This past Saturday, they're advancing to states, that'll be March 21st, all the way up in Camden, so it's kind of a haul for Marshwood. This is the one act play at Marshwood, it was called Citizens United, they just performed. One act play, yeah, there we go.
Sorry.
No worries. And just a couple of plugs for stuff coming up this Friday. This is a new thing that's never happened in South Berwick on Friday night at 7 p.m. The theater department's putting on Dream Roll Cabaret, they're calling it, where a lot of the high school students get to perform kind of whatever they want, their favorite song, and it's not actually part of a production. It's a fundraising event, 7 p.m. at the high school on Friday. And then Piven is Spring Musical opening March 28th. So shows March 28th, 29th, and then the following weekend. That's all. Yep.
Madam Chair, move we adjourn.
Second, all those in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned 4-0. Thank you, everyone.